the SportsMax Zone. It's now time for some football, and it comes courtesy of Europe's finest. The quarterfinal round of the UEFA Euros kicked off earlier on Friday with two mouth-watering fixtures in Germany. Red Hot La Roja, three-time champions Spain, continued their unbeaten run in this year's tournament after notching a late 2-1 win over host Germany, courtesy of a Mikel Merino header and, of course, that second half of extra time, securing a spot in the semi-final round. Well, that game was followed by Kylian Mbappe's France tackling Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal, with that match ending 5-4 in penalties in favour of the French. Well, joining the show to review the action is our football analyst, Brent Sancho. Well, Brent, I saw that you were on Euros duty, so it's fitting that you're here with us this afternoon.
Yeah, certainly fitted. We were treated today by really two games that had different outlook and, of course, a different type of excitement. One, of course, had the excitement that was in Spain and Germany encounter, and Portugal, and of course the following game, the Portugal game against France, probably didn't have the similar sort of excitement we've seen. But all in all, a bumper day of football, four massive footballing nations on show today, and of course the results went a particular way that probably some fans will not be happy with.
Yeah, well, I want to start our discussion with the Spain match. Spain, of course, 5 out of 5 wins. This time they were able to defeat Germany. Goals coming from Dani Olmo and Mikel Merino. And my standout of the match, Lamine Yamal, because the youngster just keeps on giving. Brent, your assessment of, how Spain went about their business, because Spain scored, then of course they equalized, Germany equalized, then we got that goal from Mikel Merino, and it was, to me, it was a match that had everything in it. And as I said, my standout moment was the youngster from Barcelona really stepping up with that assist. I was even saying to Lance during the match that he looks like, if he's not his age, let's just start there, to the point where we checked that his birthday will be later this month. He seems to command this sort of confidence, and when he's playing for his country.
Yeah, and of course his age does not reflect on the type of decisions he makes, on the way he approaches a football game. When you look at that first goal, many players in that situation, in that wide position, would try to flash the ball across the goal. What he did is he picked his head up and, of course, picked his pass out to Dani Olmo, who came in and slotted the ball into the back of the net. Very mature in his approach, Lamine Yamal. And you could probably say the same for Nico Williams. And both players continuing in the vein of form that they've been throughout the tournament, although they started a bit slowly in this game. Credit to the Germans, who pressed high up the park and made things very difficult for the Spanish. But in the second half, things became a little bit more open, and Spain reveled in that. It must be noted, Mariah and Lance, that the substitution by Coach De La Fuente may have had an impact in sort of the forward trajectory that Spain was showing. Emil Ahmad substituted around the 63rd minute, and I do think that would have an impact as to Spain heading forward. But it must be said as well that Germany made several changes attacking-wise that also changed the dynamic of the game, and you ended up with an end-to-end encounter with the Germans pressing at the end and finally getting that equalizer from Wirtz, who sent the game into extra time. So a very exciting game of football, different tactical approaches, terrific players on show, and terrific young players who are the future of the game that surely showed that the game is in good hands.
Yeah, that goal coming from Florian Wirtz, it came out of nowhere, Brent, for me, because initially I felt as if, all right, Spain had the lead and they were going along really, really well. Then that game, of course, pushing the pressure on Spain, but Spain coming up trumps. One of the most disappointing parts of the game for me was that injury to Pedri. He had to come off as soon as the match started, and I think that's a blow for this Spain side.
Yeah, it's a big blow for the Spanish. Of course, a player of Pedri's quality and ability. He's had his injury issues throughout this calendar year, as we all know. But you have to give credit, Mariah, to Dani Olmo, who I thought came on and put in a man-of-the-match performance. His pass for the second goal was outstanding. Of course, that foul again by Toni Kroos. There's something in Andy Taylor and Toni Kroos that I just don't understand how Kroos was not booked throughout that first half. I was very surprised that he got away with a couple niggly fouls that normally would see you in the book. Nevertheless, that ended Pedri's game. But again, back to Dani Olmo, the person that replaced him. I thought he was exceptional. He had good vision, great 1v1, attacked the space as well, and really provided that impetus. When Spain looked like they were hanging on and looked like they were handing over the impetus towards Germany, Dani Olmo came up with that superb pass at the end to Moreno, who headed it to the back of the net, and credit him. And I think when you look into the fixtures to come, you would suggest if Pedri cannot, of course, play due to the injury that he subsequently came off for, I think Spain will look towards Dani Olmo to provide the same sort of fireworks that he did today.
Yeah, Brent, you just referenced some officiating moments in the game that could be considered contentious. Probably the most glaring of them, the handball in the box for the Spanish team, and the Germans weren't given a penalty for that. That looked very, very debatable.
Look, Lance, we've had this conversation about unnatural, natural. I have tried my best to understand where the officials are, because they're the ones that are making up the rules, unfortunately. And I try my best to understand their thought pattern. They talk about the word unnatural position. If this is not unnatural, I'm listening to experts talk about, oh, he's trying to get his hand back into unnatural. When the ball hit his hand, it is in, quote unquote, an unnatural position. That for me is a penalty. It's a stonewall penalty. And I think Spain dodged the bullet. What I'm very confused about, that it did not go to Atwell in the VAR room, because that should have at least had a second look.
Yeah, it looked very dicey from my eyes as well. I'm not saying that because I'm a German fan, because I think Spain have played a very solid tournament so far. But there's the other thing about how gripping this final was, Brent. You can comment on this before we move on to the second semi-final today. Looking at the quality of that game and how gripping and how intense it was, I felt as if watching the match that the winner of this game will go all the way to win Euro.
You would think so. You would think so. It certainly had the feel and touch of a finals, and it certainly had the sort of course, endeavour by both sets of players to win this football match of a final, and it had the quality, as you rightfully mentioned, of a final. I just think, Lance, though, however, as you move forward, and of course Spain has advanced, it did show some chinks in the Spanish armour, and one of the chinks, I think, is of course their lack of depth. I just don't think, without a Rodri, of course, as I said, Dani Olmo would provide a very good replacement for Pedri. But if you take Rodri out of that equation, if you take both Nico and Limamal out of it, then Spain becomes a very average team. And I go back to the fact that a lot of persons are suggesting that Morata's role, although he's not scoring, is still vital for Spain. I can't buy that, because at the end of the day, what Limamal and Nico Williams and Rodri gives to me, all I want from my centre forward, if I'm a Spanish fan or coach, is to put the ball in the back of the net. They A, don't have depth, and B, don't have that clinical striker in front of goal, that striker that wins you tournament. And I just feel those two things now puts and cast a slight doubt in my head as it relates to the Spanish.
Yeah, and of course we have England and Switzerland and Netherlands and Turkey to come in the other two quarterfinals. But let's look quickly at the second match today that we saw. Went all the way down to penalties. For my money, not as high quality as the previous match between Germany and Spain. But your thoughts on that match and the fact that it went all the way to penalties, and in the end, disappointment for Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal.
Look, I know we always have a bit of time consumed or constraints when it comes to speaking about games. I'm not going to dive into the game. I'm going to strictly stay on the Cristiano Ronaldo fact. At some point and at somewhere, I was hoping that Martinez would have shown some sort of gumption to make that decision and pull Cristiano off, or not start him, or possibly explain to him that he just is not the Cristiano Ronaldo that we know of the past. I'm a massive Ronaldo fan, but I just look at what he presented, his body of work in this tournament, and it's one of the hindrances, and many Cristiano Ronaldo fans may not want to accept this fact, but it is a fact. When you look at the dynamic players that Portugal has left on the bench because they persisted with playing Cristiano Ronaldo, you have to wonder what is going on in the mind of Martinez, because at the end of the day, a coach makes a decision, and he failed to make that decision, to make the replacement, to make the right adjustments to win a football game. As you rightfully said, Lance, it was not a high-quality game, but France was there for the taking. And because Martinez did not want to make the most critical and important decision in replacing Ronaldo, that is why Portugal is out of the Euros right now.
Yeah, your thoughts on Mbappe's input in the game today for France, and what was it about France's effort today that you would label them deserving of winners?
I'd first say I was a little bit disappointed, Lance, in the way France set up. I thought it was quite ultra defensive in the fact that they had Tchouaméni, Camavinga, a Kante in your middle of the park. And it did leave a little bit of desire in terms of that forward movement, in terms of progressing up the park. I didn't think they had that sort of midfielder. I think what they did was grind out a result. I think they have been very resolute defensively. They've shown some great presence, particularly in Saliba and Upamecano at the back, who've been very solid. And of course, Theo Hernandez on one side and Koundé on the other. And they've been solid defensively throughout, and they've built on that. They have not necessarily provided the fireworks that you would expect from this French team, because there is quite a bit of talent sitting there and thereabouts on the French team as it relates to attacking prowess. But we haven't seen that. It seems like Didier Deschamps is quite comfortable in relaxing on his defensive laurels to try to win this tournament. I'm not sure if that is the right way to go, but I'm pretty sure he's celebrating tonight, knowing is that exactly what he did, and he's probably going to do it again.
Yeah, and just before you go, just call the semi-final then between France and Spain. They are neighbours. They are powerhouses in European football. Who wins that semi-final?
I just think it's difficult to go against Spain right now. They are the team in form. I think they're the team that is, of course, looks like winners, looks like champions, look like they have all that it takes to go on and hoist this trophy. As I said, I do feel that France is still a little bit unbalanced, so I'm not quite too sure if they would figure out the team dynamics in time to play Spain. But Spain looks every bit of a team that could go on and win this tournament.
All right, Brent. Well, we look forward to see how your prediction goes, because you know that's a big thing here on the SportsMax Zone.
I was very right today, Mariah. I was excellent today. I got it all the way to penalty kicks, but I chose the wrong team. Right scoreline in the first game, so I'm doing well.
All right. Well, really, really happy for you. We're going to take a quick break, Brent. Then I'll do the zone update too. And then we come back because we have you to talk Copa America. Can't wait.